Civil War Digital Digest. I'm Will. Well, today we've been welcomed into the collection of my good friend Matt Woodburn, who's been a reenacting buddy of mine for the entire 30 years I've been in living history. First as a big brother shoving me around the field, and now as somebody I've shared command with as we've organized several events. And Matt has a separate passion to living history. And what is that, Matt?
I was bitten by the collecting bug of original Civil War artifacts, and I got bit hard.
Oh boy. So another way we find to connect with history is collecting the artifacts, and we'll jokingly say that we're going to use one of the pieces on this table to scratch just the surface of it, and I think it's the right way to do it. Let's start at the very beginning.
All right.
Where does collecting start for you?
With me, it started with a little bayonet that my father gave me. He purchased it years ago, and it wasn't anything that was an item that would fit on anything that I had at the time. Didn't really know why. It was just a little bigger, and that's because it's a 69 caliber bayonet, and it was one that my dad picked up on a trip to Tennessee, which is oddly where I've ended up choosing to live for my life now. And it's something that started this whole room that we're in. All of the items was started by this little bayonet.
Well, let's take a look at it. Tell me about it.
All right. This is a little 69 caliber bayonet that I get emotional picking this stuff up. This is a connection to my father, who's no longer with us. And he started this entire thing, and this was a little bayonet that I picked up in Tennessee, and I love it. It represents a beginning. This represents genesis of this room that we're in and all the artifacts here.
Great. So your dad bought it for you. Tell me a little bit about what happened after that.
Well, he bought this for me, and it was kind of funny. On this trip to Tennessee, there was a bayonet scabbard that I had at the time, and I would push it into this scabbard and click it in, and it made this noise that 5 times is fine. 500, which is what I did, was starting to get very irritating to my dad, and this was a wonderful little piece to start a lifelong passion.
Now, is that a passion just for you, or is that something you've been able to share with family and friends?
I share it with a lot of friends. Hundreds definitely, thousands probably.
And your father as well?
My father, he got involved in, he got me involved in collecting the artifacts. I got him involved in the reenacting hobby, putting on the battles and shows for the public. So we both kind of, pulled the other into the element that was our world, and we're standing here in this room now with all these artifacts. This was his world. He was so fantastic to get me started in this, and he was generous beyond a fault with me. Probably a quarter of the artifacts in this room were gifts from him. Every year, Christmas, birthday, there was always, the next artifact to build this collection.
Wow.
So it's a connection to my father.
Fantastic, and I'm happy to say thanks to Matt's generosity to us over the coming years, we'll see an episode here, an episode there that'll get a little bigger glimpse of this collection as we learn a little bit more about what there is. So this piece started it and its dad, and you've also chosen to bring a second piece here. Let's switch over here and talk to me about this Colt revolver.
This Colt revolver was one that is identified to the 12th Ohio Cavalry. And I had a Woodburn ancestor that rode in Squadron L or M. And so I've got connection to family past with this pistol here.
Not one that was handed down. This is one you collected, right?
Exactly. It was one where I go to Civil War shows and I purchase artifacts. And as I'm going through, the serial number that's on there, and there are manifests that you can find online of all the different, not all, but many. It's huge, the amount of information. And I found this serial number, and it's the regiment that my family member was in, and just the squadron right next to his.
So what is that like? You're sitting, maybe this is far enough back where the internet's not as prevalent. You're pouring through paperwork or looking at early internet forums, and you've got this piece that you just purchased, and you go, my goodness. What's that moment for Matt Woodburn?
My gosh, this is one that rode right next to him. This pistol was hanging right next to him as he was riding around fighting the battles that his regiment was in, and was one that was produced very likely by the same company, the one that he rode with. And I think it's a exact carbon copy. The soldiers in a regiment, they're all issued the same weapon, and this is one that I feel very certain was exactly like his.
Fantastic. Well, it's amazing to see what happens where we can take an old piece of steel and it can be both a family memory and a way to connect with history. And thank you for sharing that with us today, Matt.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for being with us at Civil War Digital Digest. We usually say the term connection and talk about having a connection to the Civil War, and I know we've used those words a lot more in this episode, but here's the base of where it is. Find a way to touch history, find a way to talk about history, find a way to share history, and come back in a couple of weeks. We'll see you then.